correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but you're from Occupy Salem originally?
I was with Salem and then now with Occupy Oregon.
Excellent. And so Jim is just going to teach us about models of change and how we can effectively be an activist group, really.
It's the psychology of survival. And I'm actually one of the few Oregonians who was on Nixon's hit list. And I'm still alive. I'm still standing. But I want to be real quick because one of the things that is really important in terms of the psychology of all this is to know how good you are. Do you know how good you are?
Yeah.
Probably top in the state. I've been all over. It's interesting. Bend and Medford have the best programs to protect kids from child sex abuse. I mean, they're like a cut above. I don't know how many of you have been through the Stewards of Children. Any of you been through that? Oh, damn! I'm glad I'm here. Anyway, it's interesting to me, and you have to capitalize on those models. And here's a thank you to these guys. I'm the permit holder for the front steps of the Capitol on the February 1 thing. It's yours.
All right.
You decide what, because, and don't quote me here, but there's so much dysfunction there. We had a meeting the other day about having a pre-meeting to decide what our priorities were going to be. Couldn't get it done. Could not get it done.
Yeah.
So, and the mall across the street. Now the other thing that you're going to want, the only other player is Bend. They're the ones who came up with the Occupy Party idea and buses and so forth. So think about that. It's yours because you deserve it.
I'll try.
So let me just share a couple of what I want to do is share a large group model in terms of a perspective. Models are just models; they're not reality, but we all work with them 24/7, right? And so I want to talk about large group change. I want to talk about small group change, like in your community groups. And I want to talk about personal change, and then leave a few minutes for questions. I'm not sure what your time frame is, but I'm going to do this in just a pretty quick fashion, and then I'm going to stay around. I've got a meeting Tuesday morning with Bates. I'd love to have somebody help me get a meeting with Buckley around this child sex abuse thing. Again, you're probably the gold standard in the country, and most teachers in Oregon are not fulfilling the requirements under Senate Bill 379 that requires every school every year to train teachers, and it's not being done. And so Senator Bates is very interested. He was on the board of the Jackson County Child Advocacy Center, and he was very nice to make room for me 7:30 in the morning on Tuesday. So I'll be around, love to talk to you. Let's talk about a frame of reference. How many of you, this gets wild. How many of you are from Southern Oregon? I mean, I'm from the university. Staff, students? How about Rogue Community College? See, this is what's fascinating to me. The universities have not yet said, I'm a university guy, retired. There are some, but I think there's an opportunity there. And I want to check on some other things. How about, we've talked about the Darkness to Light, the Stewards of Children program. It's online. See it. It's fabulous training. It's the best training there is in terms of protecting kids. How many of you know the name David Graeber? Wow. Okay. How about Gene Sharp?
Yes.
Everett Rogers? Sarah Van Gelder?
Oh, yeah.
Yes Magazine. And of course you know Mahatma Gandhi. But these are the heavyweights. And they're academics who are just now coming off the sidelines and beginning to get play. So I've got a handout that has these things on it, so you don't need to take notes. But I'm finding that is sort of my role, is to get you in touch with the heavyweights who are already out there. So this is a letter to the editor that I got, probably got in the Statesman, and maybe in the Bend Bulletin. This is a duplication, but it has this model, this chart on it, because this chart becomes very important in terms of your focus. What are you trying to do? So let me speak to that. I'm serious about February 1. It's huge, and you've got the momentum. As I said, I think earlier, I was at a Wyden town hall meeting yesterday about the B&B fire thing, and state and those can both go around. And one of my colleagues, who's my kind of bodyguard, who works for the National Guard, got up and mentioned Occupy. The whole room just stopped breathing. In a good way. A lot of people. And so you have no idea 2,000 sites in 80 countries now. It's growing. It didn't start in Wall Street, by the way. It started way before Wall Street. And David Graeber, I'm jumping around here. Let me get to this. One of the things, this is Rogers' work. This is Everett Rogers at Stanford, not a shabby institution. What it points out is that with 5% of a population getting an idea, it's called embedded. It'll never go away. Occupy, the concept of occupy as a protest, type of protest, will never go away. We will always talk about these kinds of protests as occupies. Here's what's even more important. It takes 17%, which is about here, preaching to the choir, and the movement is unstoppable. Now this is hugely significant. You don't have to argue with anyone who doesn't agree with you. You literally preach to the choir and then organize them. I'm serious. I actually got my doctorate in this work, and there's some great people around the state of Oregon who help with this. But Everett Rogers, his book is called Diffusion of Innovation, and this has been around quite a while. So all of our people out in Salem wanting to argue with Tea Party, whatever, and I said, fine, I'm not going there. We're organizing Occupy Oregon. We're getting a bunch of academics together. We're getting ourselves focused on state policy, because some of us have some leverage.
The library will close in 45 minutes. If you need to apply for a library card, please go to the circulation desk on the first floor now.
So you don't even need anywhere close to 51%. It's clear on this side of the early adopters. You just need to keep talking, keeping yourself educated as you're doing here. This was fabulous. I'm elated that you're going to get this up, because this quality of stuff is not up. Okay, any questions about that real quick? Everett Rogers at Stanford. I mean, what does he know? He's just the expert. And
He gives a TED talk on this.
yeah, I mean, I don't personally know. The other one, this is a model that those of us who are in group process use to move groups. Salem bogged down and is still bogged down in storming. If you watch groups, any group, small group, big group, any group, it goes through a forming stage where everyone is nicey nice. And you know, butter wouldn't melt in your mouth. And what happens after a little while is there is increased tension around influence. This is why your ground rules and your issues around procedures become important. I'm not a real fan of a lot of this because it's distracting. You can move faster, but it doesn't matter. It works. It's working, and it is the model worldwide. So this is it's a good model. But what happens is that groups will start out, here's the emotional line where it starts out really positive and goes to hell in a handbasket. And then if the group gets help and uses norms to get through, ground rules and norms, it may get to norming, agreeing on things, and to high performance. Many groups get stuck in storming. I made a lot of money as a consultant doing this work. Here's the skill level that goes slowly, maturely up. But it means you've got to work on skills, which means most meetings should be evaluated. You're getting yourself, you're feeding back information. And what we do with this, I've used this as a consultant. You have a group come up and put a dot or little file markers, where they think the group is. Salem was all here. It was all here. And I said, okay, well, the implications are we need ground rules for managing our meetings, our General Assembly, and wingnets, we call them, the mental health problems. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I'm a counselor. But we were inundated with people who were disruptive, threatening, and several key people walked away from that camp because they just couldn't be around it. I had to walk away because I'm a mandatory reporter. I'm seeing kids, young girls with adults. I'm seeing drugs. I can't be around. Believe me, that police, they're looking for anything they can get me for. So I said, I'm out of here. And it was appropriate because it just allowed that to collapse. What was interesting, we formed pursuant to this idea of how you move groups, we decided rather than affinity group, that's a label that I think you got to research, but we decided on self-directed teams. The idea is we go into GA and said, can you allow us to go, the political types, to go out and have a self-directed team? We'll manage ourselves, we'll report to you every week, yada, yada, yada. And we got that permission for a while. Our group went right straight through to here in a heartbeat. Then there was all this resentment and pushback. If you were at the meeting the other night, I was in Salem, all they want to know is about my filing lawsuits and do I have the business name for Occupy Oregon. And I said, are we still here? Yeah. I guess we were talking about this a month ago. And as my other parts of Occupy Oregon had agreed to, I don't want to belabor that, but this is hugely important. Stages of group growth. Any group will go through this. Every group will go through this. And you got to be prepared for it. And so that's that. Questions about that real quick?
Is it a matter of ignorance on the part of the people there that are disruptive?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
What's the best way that we can get their attention?
Well, I would want to be really careful about who we're talking about, because one of the things that I think was just heartful as hell was the wonderful work we were doing with homeless people. It brought me to tears of many nights sitting around talking to people as the weather started to change and so forth. So I like the Occupy principle of flipping the 1%, start with the 1% at the bottom. I can't pass a homeless person up the way I used to. It was wonderful training. Being in jail for a couple of weeks is also great training. I'll tell you, you want to find out about corruption. That's a great way to find out all the bad problems. Here's another one. I have these. This is Ben's shirt. I'm going to use this for our domestic violence thing, but very powerful stuff. Then here's another shirt by somebody in SIO. And then there's this Zendex that stopped quit bitching, start a revolution.
Yeah.
All of them have consequences. This is perfect.
I want one.
All you do is walk down the street and you can watch people's eyes.
Yeah.
And I slow down and say, what would you want me to know? What would you do if you were me in a role to have something to do with? You can start. I mean, the conversations, as you can all imagine, is easy and fast and fabulous. So I recommend. This is a Silverton couple. I don't know if they're going to do anything with it. Occupy Oregon needs Occupy Oregon. And I don't know that entrepreneur is going to do that, but I'm not that person. I've got a few other things, irons in the fire, but staying out of jail is one of them. I don't need that anyway. Or that. I'm going to work over here. In terms of personal change.
And that's how we dismantle
Yeah,
the
right.
system. Take down.
I'm packing up early. I know I'm getting out early. Think about change. I was that's what I did at the Western. I was 6 years at Western training teachers and counselors. I went to Chemeketa and I worked in the mental health program and won some awards. And people began to say, well, what is it you're doing that's different? And I said, well, I know it's not me. But we looked at models. We did all that personal growth training in the 60s or 70s or whatever it was. We brought it back to the community college and spent a lot of years thinking about it and doing it. We used to have a lot of fun. And I think this model's out there, but you think about any change. The first step to change is not change. It's awareness that there's a need for it, right?
Yeah.
Awareness, observation, journalizing, reflecting, anything that is just getting a fix on where we are, right? And some people want to do something. Don't do something. I used to tell my ex, don't just do something. Stand there. Let's figure out what just happened. The whole thing about you can't be upset with somebody if you don't have an unmet expectation. Now this is a huge piece. Unmet expectations. That's the headset. Will always lead to some emotional. Okay? Emotions scare the shit out of us. We don't know how to handle them. So you always say, I can tell you're upset with me. You're screaming at me or something or whatever. Tell me what it is you're expecting that's not happening. You get that? Up level. Now, the next question is responsibility. Because if I'm responsible, I used to tell a story in class, with my students. If I say to someone, I'm going to meet you at my office at 3, at 3:01, I owe an apology. Because I led you to have that expectation. Okay? Exactly. However, if I say 3-ish, and it's 5 after 3, and you're upset with me, I'm going to say, please take a hike. I don't want that energy in my office. I'll work with you as soon as you get back, but I didn't cause that expectation. 3-ish? Exactly. So the second step to change is not change, but it's responsibility. You have to sort out who's responsible for this. Me, you, or the world, but it's hugely significant. If you look at Covey's work, circle of control, stuff that I do, I can control. Circle of influence, those are the people outside me, and I influence. If you look at influence strategies, listening is the key. And then there's the circle of concern, which is usually just stress. we ought to focus on control, but it's the business about responsibility. Like I've been in trouble in and out. I was in court yesterday actually with the mayor of Silverton. He was wanting to get me in further trouble because I've stirred up a whole bunch of stuff about corruption in Silverton and drugs and the code of silence in these small rural towns has all come back. But not here. Not here. You guys are doing great work. That's why I come down here. You know. But it's scary what police can do, because I left Silverton, Oregon in '99 when I retired. We had a robust domestic violence task force. People knew one another. Police were friendly. I came back last spring. Not only is there not Wi-Fi at the library where victims could go get anonymous information, the domestic violence task force had gone away. The police have imposed this fear-based management system. And I talked to my women friends, including my sister, oh, it's not the same place. So I, of course, go right to City Council with this data. The front page of the Statesman has domestic violence rates have tripled in the last couple of years. And I'm saying, I'm confused. Now, they're all looking down the line of people, and here's this police chief going like this. And I said, oh, you mean Rick? And I knew then that Rick and I were going to go round and round. What's sad about Rick is Rick was involved in a positive way, and actually this was